Bergdahl's release is tied to a whole other mess. And it was a lot of things were done within the State Department and the diplomatic corps, et cetera, that chances are he's going to be given a little bit of a pass. So he's probably not going to go to court-martial. If he does, it'll be the lowest level, which will be a summary court-martial. That's just going to be that's just my guess. But what happens, we'll see what comes out of the Department of Defense as that unfolds. But he just finished 2 days, and now he's back to work today. And then, of course, he's got a weekend. So, that's the news in the distraction politics arena there. So you all know what's caught up with the Bo Bergdahl saga, as it may be. Now, today, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, I want to go to something that's a little bit closer to my heart, a little topic. For those who don't know me very well, some of my key topics. You can get me going with veterans issues in the military and the VA, and several other topics, of course. But one of my biggest pet topics to talk about is Second Amendment rights and the right for people to be allowed to defend themselves. With that in mind, I just want to remind you, first off, of this kind of this little event that occurred last year. It's a clip coming out of the Colorado legislature, going between some gun control advocates and a rape survivor. Listen to the back and forth here on the dialogue. I apologize. It appears not to have been working properly. We've had that issue before, and we'll try to get that rectified for you, maybe play it for you on Monday. But back in 2013, there was a former rape victim who was trying to advocate for having concealed carry on college campuses. And she had been raped not just once, but twice. She was raped once. She went through and did self-defense classes and got herself her CHL, her concealed handgun license. But she was still forbidden from carrying concealed on campus. And they told her about all the different protective measures and everything. Well, she was raped a second time, not 100 yards from the security office, right under one of the emergency call phones that you're supposed to be able to use in case something happens or you think you're being chased or whatever. You're supposed to be able to run to these phones and grab them and call, and the campus police will be right there to rescue you. Well, didn't happen. And she made a clear case for why people should be allowed to conceal carry on campus. And she was basically told, well, you did the wrong thing. There were other things you could have done. You should have urinated on him and thrown up on him and blah, 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 blah. A gun wouldn't have helped you. Well, yeah, it would have. But that's, or we could say it would have. We don't know for sure, but had she had a gun, she would have had another option to protect herself, and she was denied that. And the laws in that state still deny people, particularly young women, from carrying concealed handguns on campus to protect themselves. And campuses are notorious gun-free zones where all sorts of crimes happen. They're not the safe places that we think we're sending our kids off to when they graduate high school. They're actually rather dangerous, and one of the reasons behind it is the fact that they are gun-free zones. Because when you have a gun-free zone, who are the only people with guns? Well, you do have the police allegedly have guns. And I call them alleged police. They're police, but some of them are not necessarily on the up and up. You always have a bad seed out there that's screwing things over for everybody else. And I'm sure in campus police you have at least one bad campus cop, ruining it for the guys who are actually good. And then the only other people who are going to have firearms on the college campuses are going to be the people who don't care about the laws, who are up to no good anyway. Well, that brings us to something a little bit more modern day. I talked a little bit about that clip that would not play concerning the young lady who told her story last year in Colorado. Well, now let me tell you the story of Miss Taylor Woolrich. Taylor Woolrich is currently a junior at Dartmouth College, and she's been through an ordeal. She's originally from the West Coast. See if I can find the exact place that she's from. But Eric Reed, great guy, writes for BuzzPo. He's also the president of Gun Rights Across America. Relays this story over at BuzzPo. And as far as his actual words on this, he has very few that are his, and the majority of this article is actually written by Miss Woolrich. So let me read Taylor Woolrich's own words for you, and just listen. This will send chills up your spine, and this makes a great case for adults over the age of 21 who already have qualified for concealed handgun licenses or concealed carry permits to be allowed to carry concealed on college campuses. Listen. Over the last 4 years, I have lived with the constant threat from a stalker. A stalker who is now in jail for the third time for violating a restraining order. Every day I live with these questions. What if today is the day that my stalker posts bail? What if today is the day that he discovers my parents' new address? What if I go to a lecture on campus and he shows up there? I feel that I have no control over my life. My family was forced to move. I have to stay indoors, keep drapes closed, avoid posting on social media sites, and even change my car. It's almost like being held hostage. If schools and society can't guarantee my safety and the safety of victims like me, it's time we have the chance to defend ourselves so we can stop living in fear. Should myself and other female victims just have to put up with this? The answer, hopefully, is no. Women must be able to defend themselves. The most effective way of doing this is by using a gun. When police arrive to enforce a restraining order, it's usually too late. I have been living such a nightmare for over 4 years. I was 16 and working in a cafe in San Diego when a 67-year-old man, Richard Bennett, came into the store for coffee. He kept coming back, staring at me for long periods of time and trying to flirt. He then would sit outside the store for the entire day. The nightmares soon got much worse. He followed me around outside of work, demanding to talk and saying that he was trying to protect me. Then he began bothering my friends. Security had to remove him from scholarship pageants that I participated in, and he attempted to attack my then boyfriend in high school. I was forced to take out a restraining order. Today, Richard Bennett is facing trial for yet another restraining order violation. In June of this year, that's 2014, folks, I returned home to San Diego from Dartmouth, and early the very next morning, Bennett was at my door wanting to talk. He was arrested, and police searched his car. They discovered what police call a rape kit, including rope tied into a slip noose, a knife, gloves, and other items. When police got the warrant, they found my picture all over Bennett's house, as well as legally obtained guns. Now, folks, that means they were unregistered and you bought them on the black market. These are not lawfully owned, private firearms like you and I may have. Anyway, Bennett's bond originally required him to put up $10,000 for a bondsman. This was later raised to $30,000. So far, Bennett hasn't posted bond and is still in jail. However, he has hired one of the top defense attorneys in the area. I thought that I would be safe when I started attending Dartmouth College on the East Coast 2 years ago. But over the last 14 months, Bennett has sent me multiple messages in which he promised to come all the way to Dartmouth. Fearing for my safety, I finally contacted Dartmouth College's Department of Safety and Security in June and asked if I could keep a permitted handgun on campus. Interject here, folks. This means that she has a permit to carry the handgun and it's lawfully hers and she owns it. Anyway. But no luck. The advice was that I call campus security and arrange for an escort if I ever felt unsafe after dark. I was also told that there was no way to appeal this decision. Yet the escorts have proven to be impractical and humiliating. Campus security has told me, "You can't keep calling us all the time," when requesting transportation. I'm grilled over whether I have a justifiable reason. Okay, folks, you decide. Does she have a justifiable reason? Like at all times? She's got a freako out there that could get out of jail at any moment and is already threatened to come to Dartmouth and track her down. Campus security tells me that I can't call until after 9 p.m., but my stalker doesn't really care what time of day it is. "Hi, I'm a stalker. We're only allowed to stalk after 9 p.m. Anyway, what are women in these circumstances supposed to do? Keep themselves locked in their dorm rooms, as I have done? Dartmouth thinks that banning weapons will keep students safe, but a gun ban isn't going to stop the Bennetts of this world from attacking. A restraining order didn't stop him from approaching me countless times in the 3 years since it was issued. Neither will Dartmouth's gun ban. Having a gun is by far the most effective way for victims and potential victims to stop crimes. The annual National Crime Victimization Survey has shown this for over 30 years running. Because of the large strength differential between male criminals and female victims, women benefit much more than men do from having a gun or carrying a permitted concealed handgun. The concern that permit holders represent a danger to others is misplaced. A recent report from the Crime Prevention Research Center cites statistics from Florida and shows that from October 1st, 1987 to May 31st, 2014, almost 3 decades, Florida has issued permits to more than 2.64 million people. These permits have been revoked for firearms-related violations at the annual rate of 0.0002%. This is less than a third of the rate of firearm violations by police. 9 states ensure that permit holders can carry concealed handguns on public university campuses. That's 9. Texas is not one of them. There has not been a single reported problem with a permit holder. Gun control groups push expanded background checks for gun purchases as a solution for stalkers. But Bennett was already a convicted felon. He was already banned from owning guns. California already has the background checks that the President Obama is pushing, but he was still able to get guns illegally. In addition, Bennett is much larger and stronger than I am, and I felt in danger even without him having a gun. If schools and society can't guarantee my safety and the safety of victims like me, it's time we have the chance to defend ourselves so we can stop living in fear. Wow. Powerful words from a very brave young lady. Taylor Woolrich is a junior at Dartmouth College, or will be this fall, and she's been an outspoken advocate for campus carry, and even spoke at Students for Concealed Carry and Crime Prevention Research Center National Conference in D.C. recently. So I would really, personally, love to see this be a national level. This would be a good law at the national level. I'm not a big fan of federal laws in general. I think we have way too many of them. But a federally designated constitutional carry law that would allow for, within the guidelines of whatever it takes to have a concealed carry permit in whatever state you live, allowing students to carry concealed. Now, I would not advocate open carry on college campuses. And some of my open carry advocate friends would probably roll my eyes and say, you're being a butter here. That means somebody who's always got a but about open carry. My exception to the rule for the open carry versus concealed carry on college campuses is simple. It's twofold. Number one, if open carry is banned on a campus but concealed carry is allowed, the only people that are going to open carry will be the cops and the criminals, and you'll be able to identify the latter because they'll be walking around open carrying or probably brandishing. So easier detection of the criminal in those cases. But by and large, the reason why I really would be more of an advocate of concealed carry is, while open carry provides a deterrent, there are people who were raised to be afraid of somebody who's walking around with a gun on their hip, even if that is a police officer, by the way. And you're in a college setting where by and large you have, in my opinion, many of them are still kids. They're minors. They're under the age of 21. And then you have your young adults. And they already have a lot of other things going through their mind. If they're sitting there in class trying to pay attention, and then instead of paying attention to what they're supposed to be, they keep looking at their fellow student who has a gun on their hip and staring at the gun instead of paying attention to the lecture, then, it kind of defeats the purpose of being there. Whereas if you're concealed carry, you don't have that distraction, but it's there if you need it. And that's where I would be more of an advocate of concealed carry on campuses than open carry. But, also, you sit there and you have usually their left-leaning administrations on college campuses, and people walking around brandishing, well, not brandishing, but they call it brandishing. It's not legally because it's holstered. But people walking around wearing their sidearms, that's going to be the whole big, huge buzz, and they're going to be all against it, and they're never going to allow it, and blah, 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 blah. But the concealed would be a good compromise for now. Baby steps, people, as we step towards constitutional carry, where they get back to the premise that if you own it, you can carry it. Period. Still, I'm a huge advocate of campus carry, and states that have not yet allowed it, there's really no excuse. If you have an adult who's passed all your state's requirements to get a concealed handgun license, then I'm not seeing any logical, reasonable, or legal barrier to them being allowed to carry on college campuses, other than you're afraid of some left-wing oligarch supporting collectivist socialist jerk who has some kind of an academic title pushing back against the liberty of the students. And it's all about power. they want to have the power over the students.